This is part 1 of Vantage Tips we'll go through as fast as possible. Some things I missed on my guide, but some are more intermediate to advanced tips. As I improve on my journey to master Vantage, I want to share it with you all. I promise to have a part 2 later this month with even more tips, so if you feel like there's something missing, don't worry, it's going to be in a future video. Let's jump into it really quick. Now, for tip number 1, whenever you're landing, let's say you don't get the best loadout and your teammates all grab the guns located near you, you can use a charge tower to charge up your ultimate and get 5 bullets onto your sniper. Another tip that can be helpful is to know whenever you can use her passive ability. So on the bottom right, you'll see that the icon is now gone. If I put an attachment that can use her passive, which you'll see here to identify targets, it'll appear on the bottom right and you'll know you're good to go. Another very helpful tip is to utilize your tactical to help speed up your loot rotation. Let's say you're going from point A to point B. You speed that up a little bit. You can hold your tactical ability and speed it up. As well, if you're running away from zone, you'll notice the zone is closing in on us. You can use it to get a lot further ahead. This can be helpful while you're not maximizing the distance by throwing Echo out further very quickly by holding your tactical right away. It can speed up some time to help you get further ahead. Also helpful for pushes, which we'll cover here in just a moment. Remember, big tip, that your laser sight can be seen from opponents. So once I do this, I'm going to take a look here. If you zoom in on your opponent, know that you're going to take your shot. The downside is that once they see that laser sight, they're going to know that you're looking. Ready? So they know they're going to be looking unless they're not paying attention. They'll see the laser sight in just a second. And if they don't, well, then you're pretty much lucky. Otherwise, that laser sight is very apparent, and it's going to be really hard to get your follow-up shot on them unless they're running away like you saw there. So what you need to do, it's very, very important when utilizing your laser sight when you're going to use it when you're not, because now this big dot is very much available for people to see where I'm coming from. Usually I put it away and I'll relocate and take a different angle at this point. Usually that's why I like to run a second sniper, but we'll talk about another tip in terms of different loadouts that you can essentially run that are very beneficial. But as a reminder, remember your ultimate when you're holding an angle that is very apparent where you are looking from. So once I look from here, they'll know that I'm peeking at this angle again. And it's very easy for them to take a shot at me. So sometimes you want that element of surprise, shoot at them from the back, or make sure that you're peeking again here because now they know exactly where to peek at. The next tip, I'm going to talk about bullet drop. You'll see how that little blue indicator, if I shoot at the exact center of the screen where that little circle is, that is where your bullet's going to land. So if you're trying to land a headshot or a body shot, you see how it adjusts? It'll go up and down. Right now it's in center, but the minute I hover over a target, it'll appear. Boom. See? Right in the center is where you're going to land your shot. That's for the drone there. And that applies for anything that's really far away. If I try to take another shot, we'll see if we can get one here in a second. If they manage to peek, you'll notice a bullet drop. This is also applicable to AR, such as a flatline or anything that you use this scope with, where you can see bullet drop. So we'll find an AR a little later. Right now we have Sentinel and EVA 8, and we'll take a look at one, and I'll provide that as another tip here in just a second. Let's just get a little bit more distance. The closer you are to the target, you'll notice that the bullet drop indicator kind of resets more to the center. So I didn't cover that in my guide. My biggest tip as well is try not to get reliant on it. See how it's right in the center here? He's going to take a shot, want to whiff. And also you'll realize that the amount of bullet drop that you have with this gun is also relatively low when you're using your normal sniper. Remember again that tip that I provided earlier, that if you're using your ultimate, how easy it is to see where you're at. And you can use it, that's going to incorporate our next tip here. If you're trying to retreat and take a different angle, you can use Echo to retreat. So that's the next tip that's located there. Just remember to recall back Echo. If you do not, it's going to be very apparent that like where you're running is where Echo is chasing, essentially. So just some little tips and little helpful reminders, and we'll continue on with the video. Let's say you miss the zip line here. Let's say you need to reposition and get back to height. Well, you can use Echo to really push yourself to get back onto that height location. So we talked about retreating. This is going to be taking a new angle, taking height.
Better angle at Echo's location.
Just remember to put Echo away unless you want Echo out, just as a friendly reminder. Another helpful tip, if you don't know where the zone is going to close, be sure to hit a beacon as, well, Vantage can hit beacons. It surprises me that many people don't remember that, but it's early on with the Legends, so I might as well put it as a tip here. I want to highlight it while you're in game. You can definitely use this as a setup. Let's say, for example, you put Echo out now, and the max distance already says around 40 initially whenever you put Echo from location to location. No pun intended with Echo relocation, but if you back up, you can maximize this distance up to 55 meters. Once you exceed 55, you'll notice Echo starts to move a little bit. But once you hit 55, if you want to maximize your jump and to retreat, you can do that way. Another very helpful tip when it comes to utilizing Echo is that when you throw your tactical out, you'll notice that you can do a full 360 and spin until you decide that you want to jump a certain area. Now, I made a mistake in my prior guide mentioning how you tap strafe off of it. You can technically choose your direction where you want to go whenever you're using Echo and want to push out with Echo. My point that I want to highlight when you're using Echo after the fact is that you can tap strafe just a little bit to sharpen your turn. But to do a 360, let's say a 180, we're going to highlight it here. All you need to do is simply just move to the direction you want to go, and you can go that direction. But you can sharpen your turn just a little bit by incorporating a tap strafe into it. It's only there, think of it like falling off a horizon cue. It only curves the direction you're going. You don't necessarily want to go in a straight line, because if you go into a straight line, that makes you an even more predictable target to hit. And if you're a more predictable target to hit, I usually try to curve it just a little bit. It's a small tip, not going to make and break if you're on console, not the biggest deal in the world, but I just want to have it there to be able to help you. The other tip, just as a reminder, let's say I'm going to push around this corner and use echo. You can cancel that by crouching. You want to cancel a little sooner so you don't go all the way. You can hold crouch, so I held crouch there, just to stop echo or stop the overall tactical ability. Just a little tip there as well to help you out. Another very helpful tip that can be beneficial is if you do not have a sniper or you do not have a good magnification, you can just ADS and take a look at what's around you. This is actually a 3 times magnification whenever you're zooming in. So if you happen to have a 2x and your 2x just isn't cutting it, but you need that distance, because it does require a certain amount of distance before we can actually start to pick up targets. And this is a great way to sneak up on. You don't necessarily want, there you go. So we got 1 red and 1 purple, and the distance 135 meters. If I back up, you'll notice that the distance will probably cut off around, you don't always have to jump if you don't want to. Just another little tip. See how it picked up, is no longer picking up the target? I want to say it's about 150 depending on the zoom. This is a 3x. A little further, about 200. So 200. So there you go. So there's a tip there. Just as a friendly reminder, this does increase when you use a 4x, 8x, 10x, depending on what you're utilizing.
Half in the bag. Shattered the prey shield.
If you want to push after you get a crack like that, this is a great moment to do it. I may get eliminated here. We got the grenade. If I push forward, there's this one person right here. Might whiff, might die. It's perfectly fine. But I just want to highlight what you can do in terms of a push. Let's say you had a horizon that was already pushing, that it might be a good way to use your tactical ability to gain some distance and push. Let's say if you got a crack like you just saw a moment ago. So just a little helpful tip in there. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but just be very mindful of when you're going to push, when you're not. I just want to highlight when you may use it and when you may not. Another helpful tip, just as a reminder, don't forget to subscribe to Sarah's channel, she's helping out, that if a Bangalore is hiding in smoke, that you can technically identify them and see their armor through smoke. So if I ADS out and ADS back in, you can see where she is in the smoke. Pretty OP, pretty overpowered. It was mentioned that the same thing happens with Mirage. I would need to find a Mirage in a game. In the test range, it was acting up a little bit weird. But that's also another helpful tip. If a Mirage, you should be able to identify the correct one. When we were doing it in the test range a second ago, it wasn't doing it, but I think it does it in game. So a little helpful tip. So while you saw all the pings in game already from the footage, I want to highlight just to mention, once you shoot an opponent, the tag lasts for 10 seconds for your teammates to see. If you have teammates that are available, it'll ping them for 10 seconds and apply an additional 15% damage for your teammates to do to that specific opponent. Just as a reminder, that doesn't go through walls. I know I mentioned that in the guide. Another helpful tip, and you saw it in the footage earlier, is that the follow-up shot does 50 damage. First shot does 50, and the follow-up does 100 damage. So just another helpful tip that the follow-up shot does double damage. And remember, the headshot multiplier also does a massive benefit as well. So Sarah, actually go ahead and grab a helmet. Let's go ahead and highlight that HP difference. You can go in and heal up real quick. Switch, or just grab an armor. There you go. And you have a gold helmet already?
Yeah.
And show everyone at home that difference there. So 59. 118.
With that shiny tag on you.
So pretty solid. Remember, this does apply a larger reduction in terms of damage. So just as a friendly reminder, without a helmet, the damage is a lot more significant. And we'll showcase it on the target dummies here. Take a shot at the one on the left-hand side, 75, 150. But remember, if they have a helmet, which they're naturally going to have one, that it's going to have reduced damage overall. But you also want to make sure to snag those headshots best you can. The biggest issue that most Vantages run into is being in a line of sight of echo. You can charge it right around the corner. So let's say you're charging it, and you have to only be LOS at the very end to be able to use it. So just a helpful reminder and tip, so you're not just standing out in the open charging your tactical, that you can charge it behind cover, and then at the last second, as you get better and master it, you'll be able to time it at the very last second, so you're just propelling yourself in the air and not standing out in the open. Because most Vantages that I see sometimes will just stand out right in the open, where you could just hide behind cover and then look, but you have to be sure you're in line of sight of echo to be able to jump towards them. Another really helpful tip is you can put echo right at your feet, but you got to look directly down at the ground for echo to do that. And then whenever you launch towards echo, you get some fun little movement tech that will kind of appear for you. It's not perfect, so let's showcase that again. It does take a little bit of practice, but you kind of propel in a really awkward way. I've done it on accident while I was being chased and looked directly down. And then you want to be an LOS of poor little echo there, so it's going to throw him back down.
Let's find a good perch.
And if you don't look right away, sometimes it glitches a little above. But if Echo's right down below and you jump towards him,
Better angle at
it
Echo's
creates this
location.
little weird
Echolocation.
jump.
Huh.
And it's a little bit more seamless the more you practice it. I'm only highlighting it for those that are really good at movement tech. You could probably comment down below. I haven't mastered it, but I am aware of some of the movement tech that you can do with it. In a future guide, I'll produce even more tips. Is why I have this one towards the end of the video. Just something to be mindful of and aware of what you can do with Echo. Just knowing that at least is a helpful tip, right? Comment down below if that's helpful. So I know we were just in game, but I wanted to highlight this. And Sarah can attest to this. Whenever you are pinging,
Prey spotted here.
it'll say
In level 5 shields.
the number of people left in the
One
squad.
more
It
in
says
their
2
pack.
because we're in the test range. Technically, we're in a squad and their armor choice. I know I was getting a lot of flack in the last guide for not highlighting this. I do have an issue with this, is that it does become
spotted here.
very
In level
overbearing
5.
whenever you're
We're at
pinging
the
every
lucky
single
Prey
thing.
spotted out. Eva shotgun.
And it can
Prey
be
spotted
very
here.
overwhelming
In
for your
level 5
teammates
shields.
if you do it a little
One more
bit
in their pack.
too much. So be mindful of whenever you're pinging the information you want to relay. Otherwise, you're going to be the person who cried wolf. If you're spamming way too hard and you're flooding the comms with a lot of information, I think it'd be a little overbearing. What do you think, Sarah? And like, if you're just flooding with just tons of information.
Yeah, it'd be too much like this.
Yeah, it feels like you're just pinging. Look, I'm Octane now. I'm gonna ping everything. Just be respectful, be mindful. I try to like ping only whenever I know I want to push or I'm about to take a shot, or if like this team is running up on us. Otherwise, I try to hold the ping for something important, because remember, when you ping, it diverts attention, and if you're diverting attention away from your squad from something else they should be holding, they're getting distracted and looking away, and it's probably not going to be best for your squad. Just a helpful tip. As we wrap up the video, I really want to highlight loadouts. Now, I know it might seem redundant to run a sniper, specifically when you already have a sniper, but remember that you do need to have a higher magnification to really capitalize on the abilities that Vantage has to be able to see their armor set. I still don't mind running a charge rifle, longbow, or wingman. I find the Sentinel to be a bit redundant considering this is already a Sentinel, but I do like these because, one, the charge rifle is a fantastic opener. It's broken. It's essentially broken in the game. Wingman is a great close range weapon, as well as long range, and the longbow has a faster rate of fire for follow-up shot, especially when you're trying to snipe from long range. I highly recommend that you don't always run, let's say, a sniper and an AR. You need something close range. Let's say, an example would be like the R99, even an alternator. A prowler is fantastic. A hemlock could be a little rocky, but you always want to run something that's going to be strong in close range encounters, like an SMG, a Volt, a Mastiff, a shotgun, Peacekeeper, Eva 8, anything along those lines. What you can do, though, another alternative, is running, let's say, a 30-30 or a G7 Scout, because you can put at least a 3x to be able to scout an opponent. So that is helpful. But pairing this and not necessarily running an AR can be beneficial. Now, let's say you want to play more of an aggressive Vantage. You can necessarily, or you could, run a R301 and let's say a shotgun or close range weapon. I just highly recommend that you just be mindful of your loadout, because remember, if you don't have any close range, because the zone is a lot more aggressive in terms of closing and does a lot more damage, you need to have really strong close range weapons. So be mindful of that. Grab yourself those laser sights so they're strong for your SMGs. I know the car doesn't have one, unfortunately, but just some early tips. Play with this a little bit. None of this meta is necessarily locked in stone, but as I've been playing a lot of ranked and been playing a lot of pubs, I've always been having a close range weapon because I have my long range as Vantage. So I'm going to highlight one more additional tip from in-game, and Sarah's going to help me out on that, and then we're going to wrap up the video. As we were being third-partied and run up on, I want to highlight this last tip. So you'll notice, you see the bullet drop icon has moved just a little bit. There is bullet drop with the 3x. Let's see, it moved there. It moved a little bit. You don't have to lead, or there's not as much drop as most people think, but it is helpful there so you can highlight it. See how it's center of the screen and how it drops this a little bit, even with the R301 and the flat line. So if I was really, really far away, then I can highlight that. And Sarah's absolutely insane. She's cracking them as we're giving this last tip to the guide. So again, appreciate all of you for watching. Wow, you really destroyed them over there. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next video. Comment down below if you think that we won this round or not. No! Spoiler alert, we won.
Quick Photoshop us winning.
Somebody in chat, please Photoshop us winning because we won.
Oh, look, it's Loba and
Look, it's Vantage
Horizon.
and we won.
Horizon.
Horizon